Hi, my name is Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the battle raging within Labour to nail down the detail of their Green Investment Manifesto promise, which has to be completed by senior members of the front bench in the next few weeks in order to be ready for a possible May general election. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel. So, the £28 billion a year Green Investment Plan, a central plank of Labour's plans for almost everything. The Shadow Cabinet is discussing it this week, apparently. Why is it so important? First of all, the world has already begun a new industrial revolution based on green technology. Bluntly, we're being left behind. The current government are showing no interest, and this is already costing us time. The second important point is that this investment is intended to create good quality jobs in parts of the country which are currently lacking. As such, it's Labour's main plan to actually level up rather than just talk about it like the Tories. Third, because the investment will yield a return, not only will any borrowing used for it not require taxes to go up, but it will swell the Treasury's coffers further, allowing them to invest more in the coming years. That is a benefit to healthcare, education, transport, defence, whatever you like. Put simply, the policy is not just about meeting net zero. It forms a crucial foundation to the plans to kickstart our economy after 15 years of stagnation and get people's quality of life moving back up. In fact, it's such an obvious policy you can be forgiven for wondering why it's even a bone of contention for Labour at all. But the problem is that the Tories present all of Labour's spending plans as costing each family or household X amount in additional taxes. I've noticed these days often they use family rather than household. That's because fewer of them. So if you do what the Tories always do and go, oh, well, let's take this amount of spending and divide it by every family in the country, you get a bigger number. But that's not how it works. That's not where the government get all their tax revenues from. Income tax is only so much of it. Labour are nervous about this, however. Rachel Reeves has said fiscal rules will be the top priority. Keir Starmer has said that the £28 billion a year is now an aim to achieve in the second half of the Parliament. Now, neither of these rules out the possibility that they will go straight for it in their first proper budget. They could easily do that. First budget, it's like, oh, there's going to be £28 billion for this green investment, and it's not going back on what either of these people have said. It's all about emphasising to the public that Labour will not be the tax and spend parties that the Tories claim, when people are already wary of the economic state of the country. And The Guardian published two articles urging Labour to stick with its plans. One from the point of view of the General Secretary of the Fire Brigades Union, urging the policy on flood defence grounds, and Labour's Shadow Business Secretary Jonathan Reynolds urging Labour to go big on a UK version of Biden's Inflation Reduction Act. In fact, given that the Tories have managed to make inflation such an important metric for voters, I don't know why Labour haven't simply nicked Biden's idea in full. Obviously, we're not going to spend as much as America, but referring to the policy as an inflation reduction project would help plug the economic benefits. But the fact that we have seen two such interventions in two entirely different articles of the same news outlet on the same day, because they were both published yesterday, suggests to me that people think the decision is in the balance. Now, my own thoughts on the matter are as follows. Now, I've said many times, Labour must win the election, and if they have to change a policy or the angle of a policy to do that, so be it. After all, if you don't win, you don't get any of your policies. I've lived my entire adult life understanding that I am out of step in terms of my political beliefs with much of the public. So I've already come to terms with the fact I will never get everything that I think is best. So it's no great concern to me when another policy has to be massaged to be electable. However, Labour have had this policy for some time. They've spent the last year shifting ground a little from £28 billion a year to building up to £28 billion a year in a fiscally responsible way. I see no reason to change that because that's perfectly reasonable. It allows Labour, once in power, to go for it immediately. It allows them to ramp it up over a year or two. It's a very flexible position that can take account of the economy that they find themselves with. I get that Labour have earned their current polling domination, partly from a strategy of being ruthlessly efficient in targeting the right voters in the right areas. But the difference between maintaining their current position and watering it down further is not the difference between winning or losing the election. It's not even the difference between winning a large majority and struggling for parliamentary control. The policy is very popular. The idea of borrowing for a policy like this that is going to lead to a return is also backed by the public. The public do get that. Absolutely, Labour need to emphasise the fiscal rules and say that the actual amount is dependent upon the balance sheet at budget time. Fully support that. But the reality is that any borrowing for this sort of investment yields a return. It doesn't result in taxes at any time. Jonathan Reynolds will know what his shadow cabinet colleagues are arguing. So if he is making this intervention, as reported in The Guardian, it sounds to me like maybe there's an argument to water it down and he's trying to get support to boost it back up. Not that I think the policy is under threat. That would be ridiculous. It's far too important to their industrial strategy. It underpins it all. It's not a case of whether Labour back it or not. Of course they're going to back it. Of course it's going to be in the manifesto. It's just the commitment to adequate funding early on. As I see it, Labour are working on the following balance. The longer it takes to get up to this £28 billion a year planned for, the more investment is lost and the more permanent harm we do to our industrial prospects. It means fewer jobs, less productivity, fewer chances to produce products which the world wants to buy. That all makes it harder for Labour to achieve their aim of turning the economy round. Doesn't make it impossible, but the more they pull back from that, the harder that is. And Labour need to deliver economic growth. The Tories don't. The papers cover for them. The papers do not cover for Labour. So that is all a pull firmly towards the policy. But it means the Tories, who have frankly shit the public up with the state of borrowing already, get to claim that it'll pile on even higher taxes. That is a pull away from firming up the policy. But I would say that Labour are in a strong position. I'd be very surprised if they have robust polling evidence that attacking this policy will be fruitful for the Tories in many, if any, areas. In fact, at the moment, the Tories have got a bit of a habit of trying to attack Labour for something and it all going badly wrong in the polls. You know, I've certainly seen no polling that would give the impression that the Tories have a fruitful line of attack on this one. You know, Labour are basically saying fiscal rules come first. Fine, just make sure the fiscal rules allow for the policy. Job done. The Reynolds-focused article in The Guardian did emphasise the fact that Labour are making a push to make sure the policy can stand up to media attacks. Starmer has made it clear that he is insisting that every single line of the manifesto be bomb-proof, which means can be defended in the election campaign and in government can be delivered. Lots of people, of course, trying to say Starmer doesn't keep his promises because policies have changed over the course of his leadership. He is reportedly determined that the promises that actually matter, the ones that are written down and given to voters in the manifesto, are all delivered in government. Come the following election, when he wants to get re-elected, he wants to be able to ask the public, right, can you show me anything in the manifesto that we didn't deliver? And in return, he wants to hear crickets. This would explain why some more challenging policies have been toned down and may not make it into the manifesto at all. I'm thinking particularly of replacing the House of Lords. I'm hoping that after a term in office, delivering what he says he will have a freer hand to take on more challenging reforms in the second term on the basis of, well, I delivered these, so I can deliver this as well. But for now, this green investment policy must succeed. It shouldn't be seen as a potential banana skin. It should be held up as the key to improving so much in the country. It's not a Tory trap. It is a vision for better times. Progressing on net zero, which is popular amongst the public. Generating the jobs of the future, popular amongst the public. Bringing prosperity to parts of the country which are seeing the old industries falling away. Bet your arse that's popular. Generating economic growth, bringing in tax revenues from profits which will power the next wave of public investment. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.